Number 10. Bret Hart vs. Shawn Michaels WWE Championship 60-minute WWE Iron Man match, WrestleMania 12. Michael Burdick said, "To this day, Bret Hart vs. Shawn Michaels stands as one of the greatest rivalries in WWE history. Perhaps the biggest testament to that fierce conflict was their WWE Iron Man match for the WWE title at the Showcase of the Immortals. There, two of the top competitors of all time battled to a stalemate for 60 minutes. Then by order of WWE Commissioner Gorilla Monsoon they were forced to take it even further. HBK ultimately reigned supreme, allowing the boyhood dream of Mr. WrestleMania to finally be realized. It also set the pair on a collision course that would culminate in the infamous incident in Montreal the following year at Survivor Series. Number 9. John Cena vs. CM Punk WWE Championship match, Money in the Bank 2011. Anthony Benigno said, "This match, though. Everyone seems to remember the bookend moments of their instant classic rivalry, such as Punk's hot fire pipe bomb where he took Cena to task for his perceived dominance and trashed WWE itself for imposing a glass ceiling over underappreciated mid-carders, and of course, the Second City Saints kiss off goodbye to Mr. McMahon with the title in hand. But the middle portion, the match itself, demands just as much respect as those two milestones. The focus was rightly on Punk, riding the feeding frenzy of his hometown Chicago crowd, but Cena's defiance in the face of not just one man but an entire city was equally as compelling. It was perfect. All of it. And yeah, it was pretty cool when he blew the chairman a kiss goodbye, too." Number 8. The Dudley Boyz vs. the Hardy Boyz vs. Edge and Christian World Tag Team Championship TLC match, WrestleMania 17. Anthony Benigno said, "What feverish mind dreamed up the atrocities that unfolded during TLC 2? It's hard to tell where one team's madness began and the other's ended in this frankly ludicrous 10-car pileup of a match that saw Edge and Christian retain their World Tag Team Championship against the Dudley Boyz and the Hardy Boyz on the grandest stage of them all. Swanton bombs and spears off ladders are what everybody remembers. What they forget is that Rhino, Spike Dudley, and Lita all got involved, too, essentially making the match a 9-way affair. By the time Rhino helped Christian get the titles back for him and his buddy, the WWE Universe was both thrilled to see the champs retain and relieved that the mayhem was finally over." Number 7. Bret Hart vs. the British Bulldog Intercontinental Championship match, SummerSlam 1992. Craig Tello said, "It was statement enough that the Intercontinental Championship match was the main event at SummerSlam 1992, which also featured Ultimate Warrior vs. Randy Savage for the WWE title. Add a Hart family conflicted in support of two universally beloved superstars and this unparalleled mat classic became an emotional showdown that made WWE's number 2 title feel like its most coveted. In front of Bulldog's fellow Brits, Bret Hart and David Boy Smith got Wembley Stadium to rattle at its core, while viewers around the world teetered at their seats' edge for the culmination of a squared circle chess match. You'd be foolish not to rush to relieve it." Number 6. The Ultimate Warrior vs. Randy Savage retirement match, WrestleMania 7. David Shoemaker said, "Set aside the ignominious ending for Savage, this match was an absolute beauty. Perfectly paced and executed, and it was Warrior's best match by a mile. Sherry Martel was immaculate, Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan were hitting on all cylinders, and the recurring shots of Miss Elizabeth in the audience were perfectly done. It's 20 solid minutes of edge-of-your-seat drama. Even if you go in knowing the ending, it's impossible not to get wrapped up. The end game 5 Savage elbow drops failing, then 3 huge shoulder blocks from Warrior to set up the pin was ahead of its time. And the reunion at the end was amazing. Forget it, don't set aside the ending, he didn't go out on top, but this is every bit a worthy retirement match." Number 5. Eddie Guerrero vs. Rey Mysterio Cruiserweight Championship Mask vs. Title Match, Halloween Havoc 1997. Ryan Murphy said, what many of Rey Mysterio's most flagrant imitators, and there's a generation of them, too often overlook, is that the lucha icon didn't perform dazzling maneuvers just because they looked cool. Instead, it was Mysterio's lack of size that necessitated his moveset. Just watch him in the very best match of his career against Eddie Guerrero at Halloween Havoc 1997. When Mysterio leapt from the apron to the top rope, moonsault and caught Guerrero with a DDT on the way down, it was because he had to. A head-on attack would have been moot, but Rey created opportunities in ways other competitors could not. There were nights where Mysterio was more astounding, but never a match where his theatrics were more appropriate. Number 4. Ricky Steamboat vs. Ric Flair NWA World Heavyweight Championship 2 out of 3 falls match, Clash of the Champions 6, Ragin Cajun, April 2, 1989. Ricky Steamboat, as told to Zach Linder. That was my favorite of the 3 matches in our trilogy, because we put in 55 minutes. When you're putting in that much time, the thought process behind it is you've got to have a couple guys who know how to do it. If you have guys that just have been working 20-25 minutes every night, and then you tell them to go out there and do an hour, they may find it difficult. Early on, I was schooled on putting in time, especially working with Flair. Of course, you're going to have some moments where it's going to be a low point of the match, but it's designed that way so we were going to be able to get them back up later in the match. That's the expression, take them on a roller coaster ride. Number 3. Randy Savage vs. Ricky Steamboat Intercontinental Championship match, WrestleMania 3. Anthony Benigno said. This was supposed to be Ricky Steamboat's cup of coffee in the big time. Instead, it defined the enduring legacy of the Dragon, Macho Man Randy Savage, the Intercontinental Championship that passed from the latter to the former, and some would say WrestleMania, if not wrestling, itself. The match was simplicity incarnate, a back-and-forth affair that ended in a roll-up, and that was the source of its genius. The frills were minimal, the pace was fast beginning to end, it goes down quicker than an actual cup of coffee, and the showcase was meant to be on the back-to-basics efficiency that settled the often bizarre rivalry preceding it. Purists balked the role George the Animal Steele played in the final outcome, claiming it denied the WWE Universe a truly decisive victory. This is a fair, if disputable, point. But if you're looking for sports entertainment nirvana, you'll never get closer than this. Number 2. Bret Hart vs. Stone Cold Steve Austin submission match, WrestleMania 13. Sami Zayn, as told to Zach Linder. I was 13 years old when this match happened, and I cannot state enough how much of a Bret Hart fan I was. I hated Steve Austin, and hated him for years after this match. I didn't come around to respecting him until 2000 or 2001. It took years for me to get over his rivalry with Bret Hart. I can't pinpoint why I liked Bret so much. It wasn't one thing. There was just something very humble and working class Canadian about his overall presentation, and he looked so cool. But even I, Bret Hart's staunchest supporter, found it hard to not get behind Austin in that match. There was this kid I grew up with who came over to watch WrestleMania 13. He loved Bret Hart just like me, but as the match was unfolding, he started to hate Bret and love Austin. I was in denial, but couldn't help but agree with those feelings. For me to even question my unabashed hero and almost side with whom I viewed as the ultimate enemy, how could one match do that? It's a masterpiece. Number 1. The Undertaker vs. Shawn Michaels, the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania. Shawn Michaels, as told to Zach Linder. I'm on record as saying that it's probably impossible to wrestle a perfect match, but I think it's as close as I ever got. Taker's on record saying the same thing. Very proud of it. Everything aligned and came together. If you are fortunate enough, worked hard enough, hit all your marks, don't make any mistakes, you hold up your end, your guy holds up his end, and the situation, aura, mystique, and everything else falls into place, you get that match. I am fortunate to have those things happen more times than not in my life, which is why I am continuously, unbelievably thankful and amazed at what I was fortunate enough to be a part of. After the match, we sat in a room by ourselves and just sat there quietly. We looked at each other, smiled and just took it in. It's just one of those things that not a lot needs to be said. It's one of those things you share with each other.